Who wants to give a small recap?
I guess that's my job on the org chart, right?
It's true.
Hector came in to come hang out with his wife, and his wife was like, we're all gonna die, you're gonna die, and I'm gonna become a slave, and it's gonna be horrible forever. And Hector was like, aw. And then they hung out on the walls for a while. Hector has a helmet. He really, really has a helmet, just so everybody knows. He came and saw Paris, and Paris was like, yeah, I'm coming. I'm definitely coming. I definitely really want to get in this dangerous fight, and I'm not a scared little baby. And all the women are doing a lot of complicated stuff involving cows and robes to make the gods happy.
Heifers.
It did seem like they were given like an extremely complex and ridiculous task that happens in the background.
I mean, hey, at least it was
Like,
explicit. They're not just like, do some stuff. They're like, here's exactly what you need to do. The gods will love it. Trust us. This is the shit that they're into.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're barking up the wrong tree with Athena. Athena is just like #1 fanboy of Greece. So she just won't care what they do.
Yeah, she's made up her mind.
Long ago.
She hates Aphrodite.
Who doesn't?
I mean, Diomedes beat her up, right?
Put on him too.
So the next chapter is Ajax duels with Hector. Is this the updated org chart?
Yep.
Good specification.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
So we now really like Hector. We want Hector to, be safe and happy so that his wife isn't sad and dead. The next chapter is called Ajax Duels with Hector. So Hector's going to immediately get into a one-on-one battle. Because, safety. So it picks up right where we left off. Hector and his brother Paris are running toward the fight. Vaunting, a flash in arms, Hector swept through the gates with his brother Paris keeping pace beside him. Both men bent on combat. On they fought like wind when a god sends down some welcome blast to sailors desperate for it. Worked to death at the polished oars, beating the heavy seas, their arms slack with the labor. So welcome that brace of men appeared to the Trojans, desperate for their captains. Each one killed his man. Paris took Menestheus, one who lived in Arne, a son of King Aristos, lord of the war club, and his lady Philomedusa, with large, lovely eyes. Hector slashed Aeneas' throat with a sharp spear, ripped him under the helmet's hammered bronze rim. His legs collapsed in death. Quick in the jolting onset, Lycia's captain Glaucus, son of Hippolochus, skewered Dexius' son Iphinos. Just as he leapt behind his fast mares, he stabbed his shoulder hard, and down from his car Iphinos crashed to the earth, and his limbs went slack with death. Rampaging Trojans! Yes, but as soon as the fiery-eyed Athena marked them, killing Argive ranks in this all-out assault, down she rushed from the peaks of Mount Olympus, straight for sacred Troy. But Phoebus Apollo, spotting her from the Pergamos heights, the god grim set on victory for the Trojans, rose to intercept her. As the two came face to face beside the great oak, Lord Apollo, the son of Zeus, led off.
What next? What is the mighty Zeus's daughter blazing af now? Down from Olympus, what heroics stir your heart? No doubt you'll hand your Argives victory soon. You'll turn the tide of battle. You have no mercy, none for dying Trojans. Come, listen to me. My plan is so much better. Let us halt the war and the heat of combat now. At least for today. They'll fight again tomorrow, until they win their way to the fixed doom of Troy, since that is your only passion, you two goddesses, to plunder Troy to rubble.
So Apollo's plan is like, we know you're going to win at some point. Why don't we just pause for a day? We'll stop the fighting for a little bit. Why not? And Athena agrees. Athena's eyes lit up, and the goddess said,
I'll do it.
No, you do it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So be it, Archer of the Sky. Those were my very thoughts winging down from Olympus into the midst of Trojans and Achaeans. But tell me, how do you hope to stop the men from fighting?
Hector!
Lord Apollo, the son of Zeus, replied.
We'll spur his nerve and strength, that breaker of horses. See if he'll challenge one of the Argives man to man, and they will duel in bloody combat to the death. Achaeans armed in bronze will thrill at his call. They'll put up a man to battle shining Hector.
Yeah, so their plan is to have Hector duel with somebody. So Apollo staged the action. Her eyes of fire, the goddess Pallas did not resist a moment. She flashed the word in Helenus' mantic spirit, who is Hector and Paris' brother. The son of Priam sensed what pleased the immortals, hatching instant plans, and coming up to Hector, advised him quickly.
Hector, son of Priam, a mastermind like Zeus, listen to me now. Let your brother guide you. Have all Trojans and Argives take their seats, and you challenge Achaea's bravest man to duel in bloody combat to the death. It's not the hour to meet your doom, not yet. I heard a voice of the gods who live forever.
When Hector heard that challenge, he rejoiced, and right in the no man's land, along his lines he strode, gripping his spear mid-haft, staving men to a standstill, while Agamemnon, why can't I say that now? While Agamemnon seated his Argives geared for combat. And Apollo, lord of the silver bow, and Queen Athena, for all the world like carrion birds, like vultures, slowly settled atop the broad towering oak, sacred to Zeus, whose battle shield is thunder, relishing those men. Yeah, they are. Wave on wave of them settling, close ranks, shuddering into a dense, bristling glitter of shields and spears and helmets. Quick as a ripple, the west wind suddenly risen, shudders down the sea, and the deep sea swell goes dark beneath its force. So settling waves of Trojan ranks and Achaeans rippled down the plain. And Hector rose and spoke between both sides.
Hear me, Trojans, Achaeans geared for combat. I'll speak out what the heart inside me urges. Our oaths, our sworn truths, Zeus, the son of Cronus, throned in the clouds, has brought them all to nothing, and all the Father decrees is death for both sides at once, until you Argives seize the well-built towers of Troy, or you yourselves are crushed against your ships. But now, seeing the best of all Achaeans fill your ranks, let one whose nerve impels him to fight with me come striding from your lines, a lone champion pitted against Prince Hector. Here are the terms that I set forth. Let Zeus look down, my witness. If that man takes my life with his sharp bronze blade, he will strip my gear and haul it back to his ships. But give my body to friends to carry home again, so Trojan men and Trojan women can do me honor with fitting rites of fire once I am dead. But if I kill him and Apollo grants me glory, I'll strip his gear and haul it back to sacred Troy and hang it high on the deadly archer's temple walls. But not his body, I'll hand it back to the decked ships, so the long-haired Achaeans can give him full rights and heap his barrow high by the broad Hellespont. And someday, one will say, one of the men to come, steering his oar-swept ship across the wine-dark sea. There's the mound of a man who died in the old days, one of the brave whom glorious Hector killed. So they will say someday, and my fame will never die.
Yes, there's a lot in that one. So the ancient Greeks and Trojans both did cremation. So when they sacrifice things, they burn them and then they go up to Zeus and the gods. So when they die, they burn their bodies, that their bodies and souls like go to the gods. So while it is tradition to strip the people that you kill to take their armor, ideally you leave their bodies so that they can then go through these funeral rites and be burned the proper way with their families involved and everything like that. Just more of like the honor stuff that's so important to them. That's important because when that doesn't happen, it's like a big deal. If somebody is not giving up the body to its respective side, it's like super not cool. And that does happen at some point, so that's important to keep in mind. And then they leave like a mound. So they burn, and then like whatever's left, the ashes, then they bury those in a mound, burial mound. So we'll learn a lot about their funerals coming up. And the Dark Sea, which is another thing that is mentioned more in the Odyssey. They didn't have a word for blue because not much is blue. So when they're talking about the ocean, they call it wine dark.
I feel like a lot is blue.
You'd
Like
think
the sky.
Sky, the sea, that's like most of it.
they just didn't have a word for blue.
What did they call the sky?
White.
Wow. I guess like blue doesn't exist if you don't have a name for it.
Whoa, man, that's
Like-
deep.
Does anything exist if you don't have a name for it?
Oh no. Gotta reorganize the org chart.
Gotta
Well,
have Alec in
Fine.
charge of being philosophical.
But so like Hector's gonna die. Like, is that what's gonna happen? I don't know what happens, so I'm just
He
like
can't die. He has a helmet.
True, that's true.
maybe it won't
Good
flash when it maybe
That
it
would be a
won't flash
terrible
when the time
message
comes.
for all helmet wearers.
we'll see what happens to Hector.
Yeah, let's see.
We'll see, basically.
Oh wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the first page, there's someone who has Medusa in their name. Philo Medusa, is that Medusa?
No.
Okay.
That's just someone.
Imagine if some random Trojan was married to Medusa and he didn't bring her out to help out with the battle.
Right.
I
I
feel
was
like
like,
she'd do a lot of good.
Maybe she's not like Medusa yet, you know? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I think it's already happened at this point. The person who killed Medusa was called Perseus, who Percy Jackson's based off of, named after. And when he killed Medusa, he gave Medusa's head to Athena, and then Athena put her on her shield. And I think that that's already happening. That Athena has Medusa's head on her shield, but I don't quite remember. Yeah, I think she's already dead
Gotcha.
at this point. All right, so Hector's laid out the rules of the duel, and now he's just waiting for somebody to accept this duel. A hushed silence went through all the Achaean ranks, ashamed to refuse, afraid to take his challenge. But at long last, Menelaus leapt up and spoke, lashing out at them, groaning, heartsick. Oh no, your threats, you bluster. Women, not men of Achaea. What disgrace it will be, shame, cringing shame, if not one Danaan now steps up to battle Hector. I just took Menelaus. I keep doing that sometimes. I just take over, whatever. I'm Menelaus. You can all turn to earth and water, rot away. Look at each of you sitting there lifeless, lust for glory gone. I'll harness up, I'll fight the man myself. The gods on high, they hold the ropes of victory in their hands. So Menelaus, who earlier dueled Paris, is like, whatever, I'll fight his brother too, whatever, I don't care.
I'll fight anyone.
He's just mad he got like Aphrodite. No, was it Aphrodite who ruined the fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got cheated out of a good kill. So his kill streak's like ruined.
With that, Menelaus began to don his handsome gear, and then and there, Menelaus, the death stroke would have blazed before your eyes, dead at the hands of Hector, a far stronger man, if Argive kings had not leapt up and caught you. Sometimes the author talks directly to people. At the moment, he's talking directly to Menelaus. He's like, Menelaus, you would have died if your brother didn't stop you. And Atreus' son himself, powerful Agamemnon, seized your right hand, shouting out your name.
You're mad, my prince. No need for such an outburst. Get a grip on yourself, distraught as you are. Just for the sake of rivalry, soldier's pride, don't rush to fight with a better man, with Hector, son of Priam. Many others shrink before him. Even Achilles dreads to pit himself against him, out on the battle lines where men win glory. Achilles, far and away a stronger man than you. Go back, sit down with the comrades you command. We'll put up another champion to go against Hector. Fearless is he, and never sated with fighting? He'll gladly sink to a knee and rest, I'd say. If the man comes through alive from the fight he begs for, dueling to the death.
Yeah, so that should say something. Like, we saw Menelaus be a total badass against Paris. Like, he almost killed him even though the gods were holding him back. And yet, Agamemnon is like, dude, you can't fight Hector, though. Like, you will. So again, the Iron Warrior brought his brother around. Good counsel, fitting too. Menelaus yielded at once. His aides, elated, lifted the armor off his shoulders. And then Lord Nestor rose and spoke among the men.
No more, or enormous sorrow comes to all of Achaia. How he would groan at this, the old horseman Peleus, that fine speaker, the Myrmidons? The Myrmidons' famed commander, how he rejoiced that day, questioning me in his halls, when he learned the blood and birth of all the Argives. Now if he heard all cringe in the face of Hector. Time and again he'd stretch his hand to the gods and pray that life breath would quit his limbs and sink to the house of death.
Okay, that's good. He just goes on and tells one of his old man stories for like a whole page.
Is he I read something I didn't understand, which is never fun to listen to. But
Okay.
is he like, thank God no one's fighting Hector, or is he like, I can't believe no one's fighting Hector?
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe nobody's brave enough to fight Hector. Like,
Okay.
Like, if Peleus heard about this, he'd wish he was dead.
Yeah. Back in my day.
So Peleus, by the way, is Achilles' dad, who was also like a really good fighter. Yeah. So Achilles is here with 50 ships, each carrying 50 Myrmidon soldiers. Yeah. So Nestor is like, I was in a battle once that was great, and then at the end, he says, you, the bravest of all the Achaeans, and not one with the spine to battle Hector face to face. Ha, y'all suck. The old man's taunts brought 9 men to their feet. First, by far, Agamemnon, lord of men, sprang up, and following him, Tydides, the powerful Diomedes, second best of all the Greeks, next to the great and little Ajax, armed in fury. Idomeneus after them, and Idomeneus' good aid, Meriones, a match for the butcher god of war. Eurypylus after them, Eumaeon's gallant son, Thaus, lord of Andromon, Odysseus, out for exploit. All were roused to go up against Prince Hector. Now once more, Nestor, the fine old horseman, gave commands.
Now shake the lots for all. I'm going to do an old man voice. The first to the last man will see who wins. He's the one to do his Achaean comrades proud, do himself proud too, if he comes through alive from the fight that awaits him, dueling to the death.
Each soldier scratched his mark on a stone and threw it into the Atrides Agamemnon's helmet. Fighters prayed, stretching hands to the gods. A man would murmur, scanning the wide sky, Father Zeus, let Ajax win, or Tydeus' son, or the proud king himself of all Mycenae's gold. So they prayed. As the old horseman shook the lots, and one leapt from the helmet, the one they wanted most, great Ajax's lot it was. So, put the stones in the helmet, shook it, and the first one to fall out was Ajax's. Big, large Ajax's, not the little one. And the herald took it round through all the ranks, left to right, for luck, and showed it to all Achaea's bravest men. None of them knew it, each denied the mark. But once he'd passed it round and reached the man who had scratched the stone and thrown it into the helmet, Ajax, bent on glory, out went his hand to take it. The herald, pausing beside him, dropped it in, and Ajax knew his mark and thrilled to see it, flung it down at his feet, and shouted,
Friends, the lot is mine, and it fills my heart with joy. I know I can overpower this dazzling Hector, but come, while I strap my battle armor on, all of you pray to Cronos' son, almighty Zeus. Pray to yourselves in silence, so Trojans cannot hear. No, pray out loud. No one at all to fear. No one can rout me. He will against my will, not by force. God knows. And not by a sly maneuver either. I'm not such a raw recruit, I like to think, born and bred on salamis.
You know me, I ate a lot of salamis as a young man.
I ate a lot of pepperoni.
Is that the right word? Is it salamis?
I don't know.
I think we got to stick with salamis.
Like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys, he just eats a whole pepperoni.
He's like, I need my protein. I need to fight. I'm a good guy.
Um, so it is a place. Yeah, I'm from Salami, so I'm strong.
And all of this salami.
Oh my god, no.
So great Ajax vaunted, and men prayed to the son of Cronos, King Zeus. They'd call out, scanning the wide sky, Father Zeus, ruling over us all from Ida, God of greatness, glory! Now, let Ajax take this victory, shining triumph! But if you love Hector, if you hold him dear, at least give both men equal strength and glory.
Why'd they have to roll that one back? They could have just supported their boy.
It's the God's will. Like, fate is such a big thing. And they're just like, I mean, if it's fate, then I guess do what you gotta do. But, like, it'd be cool if Ajax won, you know? Like,
Please, can we have Ajax win?
please.
It just seems very passive aggressive. They're like, well, it sure would be nice if Ajax won, Zeus. No, it would be cool. Do whatever you want.
But only if you want it. I mean, whatever you want, it's fine.
Maybe they're feeling a little sheepish because Ajax was like, I'm praying quiet, pray aloud. And like, they were like, oh.
Yeah, they were like, oh,
we need
the Trojans are going to hear us? Okay, we better be nice.
Yeah. Oh, man. So is Ajax likable? I don't like him.
He's okay.
I already didn't like his vibe.
He's just kind of around. I read a little bit about him because I don't know too much about him. He's not that popular. Wikipedia called him a defensive fighter, and he's often like defending in the back ranks rather than like being an offensive like stabby boy.
Yeah.
So that's why he's not too much in the limelight, but he is like a really good fighter. I remembered reading somewhere that he was literally part giant, but I couldn't find anything to like back that up. So I don't know if that's true actually, but regardless, he's just like a really big dude. And
Oh, that's salami.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Salami really helps it grow.
Okay, so they prayed as Ajax harnessed himself in burnished, gleaming bronze, and once he had strapped his legs and chest in armor, out he marched like the giant god of battle, wading into the wars of men, when Zeus drives him hard to clash and soldier on with heart-devouring hate. So giant Ajax marched, that bulwark of the Achaeans, a grim smile curling below his dark, shaggy brows, under his legs' power, taking immense strides, shaking his spear high, its long shadow trailing. The men of Argos exulted at the sight of him there. The terrible tremors shook each Trojan fighter's knees. Hector himself, his heart pounding against his ribs. But how could he shrink before the enemy, slip back into a crowd of cohorts now? He was the challenger. He with his lust for battle. Ajax strode on, closing, bearing his huge body shield like a rampart, heavy bronze over 7 layers of oxhide. Tychius made it for him, laboring long, the finest leathersmith by far, over in Hyle where the master had his home. He crafted that famous gleaming shield for Ajax, layering 7 welted hides of sturdy, well-fed bulls, and hammering an 8th layer of bronze to top it off. So, very heavy shield, and it's a very tall shield, like a body shield, kind of rectangular thing, and it's 7 bull hides and then a layer of bronze, so it's like thick, pressed together. And now holding that great shield before his chest, Telamonian Ajax marched right up to Hector, threatening with his deep, resounding voice.
Hector!
Hey, Minnie, Hector!
Now you'll learn, once and for all, in combat, man to man, what kind of champions range the Argives' ranks, even besides Achilles, that lion heart who mauls battalions wholesale. Off in his beaked seagoing ships Achilles lies, raging away at Agamemnon, marshal of armies. But here we are, strong enough to engage you, and plenty of us too. Come, lead off if you can, and all your fighting power.
A flash of his helmet as rangy Hector shook his head.
Ajax, royal son of Telamon, captain of armies, don't toy with me like a puny, weak-kneed boy, or a woman never trained in works of war. War, I know it well, and the butchery of men. Well I know, shift to the left, shift to the right, my tough-tanned shield. That's what the real drill, defensive fighting means to me. I know it all, how to charge in the rush of plunging horses. I know how to stand and fight to the finish, twist and lunge in the war god's deadly dance. On guard, big and bluff as you are, I've no desire to hit you sniping in on the sly. I'd strike you out in the open, strike you now.
It's really good that they shared their credentials before fighting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Like a resume exchange.
Yeah.
Puts on little spectacles. I'm like, yes, very good.
Yeah. Or like a like
Everything checks out. Ah.
or like the hype speech like WWE.
Yeah.
Basically.
So he hurled his spear. His spear's long shadow flew, and it struck Ajax's shield, that awesome 7-layered buckler, right on the 8th. The outside layer of bronze that topped it off. Through 6 hides it tore, but the 7th stopped, the relentless brazen point. So the drama. Yeah. But great Ajax next, dear to the gods, he hurled, and his spear's shadow flew, and the shaft hit Hector's round shield, hit full center, straight through the gleaming hide, the heavy weapon drove, ripping down and in through the breastplate, finely worked, tearing the war shirt, close by Hector's flank it jabbed, but the Trojan swerved aside, and he dodged black death. So this same moment happened between Menelaus and Paris, where it went through and even like went through the shirt and almost got him, but it didn't. Anyway.
But didn't Aphrodite protect him? Like Aphrodite made sure it didn't hit him or something?
Oh, it's Menelaus. No, wasn't it Paris?
Yeah.
Zeus and Aphrodite, I think, were both involved in that.
And this one's just like as it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Both seized their lances, wrenched them from their shields, and went for each other now like lions rending flesh, or a pair of wild boars whose power never flags. Hector stabbed the buckler, full center too, not smashing through. The brazen point bent back, so now the point of the spear went back like this. And Ajax lunged at him, thrusting hard at his shield, and the shaft punched through, rammed him back in his fury, and grazed his neck, and the dark blood gushed forth. But not even then did Hector quit the battle. Backing, helmet flashing, his strong hand hefting a rock from the field, dark, jagged, a ton weight. He hurled it at Ajax, struck the gigantic shield, 7 ox hides thick, struck right on the jutting boss. Okay, and the...
She's nervous for Hector. She's like, please.
We're all nervous for Hector, Lacey. It's okay.
And the bronze clanged, echoing round and round as Ajax hoisted a boulder, far larger, wheeled and heaved it, putting his weight behind it. Tremendous force, and the rock crashed home. Hector's shield burst in, hit by a millstone, and Hector's fine knees buckled. Flat on his back he went, his shield crushing down on him, swept off his feet. But Apollo quickly pulled him up. And now they'd have closed with swords, hacked each other, if heralds of Zeus and men had not come rushing in, one from the Trojans, one from the armed Achaeans, Talthebus and Idaeus, both with good clear heads, parting them, holding their staffs between both men, and the herald Idaeus, cool, skilled in tactics, urged,
No more, my sons. Don't kill yourselves in combat. Zeus, who marshals the storm cloud, loves you both. You're both great fighters. We all know that full well. The night comes on at last. Best to yield tonight.
So they fought all day. It doesn't sound it from the description. Like it sounds like it lasted about 30 seconds, but that took all day. And it's night. So they're like, all right, it's a draw. Let's end and pause for nighttime. But the great Ajax answered briskly.
Idaeus?
Yeah.
Tell Hector here to call the truce. Mad for a fight, he challenged all our bravest. Let him lead off. I'll take his lead, you'll see.
His helmet flashed as Hector nodded.
Yes, Ajax, since God has given you power, build, and sense, and you are the strongest spearman of Achaea, Let us break off this dueling to the death, at least for today. We'll fight again tomorrow until some fatal power decides between our armies, handing victory down to one side or another. Look, the night comes at last. Best to yield tonight, so you will bring some joy to Achaea's forces camped beside their ships, and most of all to your own troops, the comrades you command. But I'll go back to the great city of King Priam and bring some joy to the men of Troy and Trojan women trailing their long robes. Thankful for my return, they'll go to meet the gods and sing their praises. Come, let us give each other gifts, unforgettable gifts, so any man may say, Trojan soldier or Argive, first they fought with heart-devouring hatred, then they parted, bound by pacts of friendship.
So, like Diomedes and that guy, I think in the last chapter when they like just traded armor, they're just gonna trade some presents and part as friends.
And then kill each other tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, but okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not a vibe I like.
It is weird. It used to be like war used to be so structured. There's a story, I think, like in Europe, like Western Europe, English and England and France wars, like after a battle they would have dinner together and like talk over wine about how things went. Like it's just like what? Like
Okay, but like why couldn't you just do that in the first place and then you wouldn't have to have a war?
Yeah. I just wonder if that's if it's a concept that existed but in fiction and in like parts of history, but it can't actually I don't believe it actually was realized in that way.
I don't know. I mean, like
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to that, but
yeah. I mean, I'm not a historian, but that's what it's painting here, and I have to imagine it's kind of sort of true.
I mean, it would have to be if it exists as a concept, right?
Yeah. I mean, it happens so much in this book.
I said if it's in the Iliad, it's probably true, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like it's like truce. I don't know if they're actually like, yeah, we're best friends now. It feels more like they're like trading stuff and they're like truce until tomorrow or whatever. Like this is like a sign of peace, not necessarily a friendship.
That might be, yeah, maybe they're trying to like make the fight, they're trying to like give reasons why to stop.
Yeah.
And put it,
Bound by a pact of friendship.
That is true.
Whatever.
But I think you're right. I think it's more like truce. Because they did fight all day, apparently, and they can't win. So I think like what they say even is that like the gods love us both, Zeus loves us both, we're never gonna win because they like us both so much. They won't let either of us die, so we might as well stop. So that's what they do. They stop and they trade presents. And with that, Hector gave Ajax his silver-studded sword, slung in its sheath on a supple, well-cut sword strap. And Ajax gave his war belt, glistening purple. So Ajax just takes off his pretty like belt, his loincloth basically, and gives it to Hector. And it seems like a super bad trade, because Hector's giving him his sword. But it's dyed purple, and you all probably know purple was very hard to make, it was very expensive. So it probably costs about the same as his sword, this little piece of cloth. So it is actually like kind of a fair trade, even though it does not seem it.
I like that you think that we know that.
Like you seem like big nerds.
Yeah.
You know about purple dye, right? Back then?
Definitely didn't know
Y'all
that.
have studied colors.
I didn't know if they got it from seashells. Definitely not.
I have really
Yeah, that would
strong
be
memory of like
fucking
purple seashell dye though.
Yeah.
As a kid.
What?
Purple seashell dye, exactly. It's like they had to go down to somewhere like in Africa and get these tiny little snails, and there were only so many, and like it took so much to go down there and bring it back. Only like really rich kings and queens could afford it. So it became like a symbol of wealth and of power and whatever. Ajax is a king. Mostly all the people that we meet are kings of their own little zones. So he does have this little, very pretty bandana that he wears.
But it's still like here's a sword. Okay, here's my purple jockstrap to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
They didn't know about blue, though, so they couldn't just mix red and blue back then.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that's a dumb. Cancel the Greeks.
Get rid of them.
Figure it
They
out.
don't know colors.
Expensive. It's fair trade. I prefer to
Fair
store
trade.
however. Fair trade purple.
It's a fair trade jockstrap.
Yeah.
So both men parted. Ajax back to Achaea's armies, Hector back to his thronging Trojans, overjoyed to see him still alive, unharmed, striding back, free of the range and hands of Ajax, still unconquered. They escorted him home to Troy, saved past all their hopes, while far across the field the Achaean men-at-arms escorted Ajax, thrilled with victory, back to Agamemnon. All right, and they sacrificed stuff. We'll probably skip a little bit of that. Okay, we're going to skip to Nestor's discussion, more about how they deal with the dead bodies, which again will become important.
King Agamemnon, chief of all the Argives, how many long-haired Achaeans lie here dead? And now Ares, the slashing god of war, has swirled their dark blood in Scamander's deep, clear stream, and their souls have drifted down to the house of death. So at dawn you must call a halt to fighting by Achaeans. Form your units, bring on wagons, gather up the dead, and wheel the corpses back with mules and oxen. Then, at a decent distance from the ships, we burn the bodies, so every soldier here can carry back the bones to a dead man's son when he sails home again. And let us heap a single great barrow over the pyre, one great communal grave stretched out across the plain, and fronting it throw up looming ramparts quickly. A landward wall for ships and troops themselves, and amidst the wall build gateways fitted strong to open a clear path for driving chariots through. And just outside the wall we must dig a trench, a deep ditch in a broad sweeping ring to block their horse and men and break their charge. Then these headlong Trojans can never rush our armies.
Right, so Nestor's like, A, we have to get the bodies. B, we're going to build a wall.
Classic.
But but like, I hope this isn't off top, like too off track, but like the society that would be hearing this knows how to do that. So like, why is he saying it? Like, I feel like it'd be like,
first we're gonna dig a hole and put a body in it and put a gravestone next to it.
Like if you're watching like a road trip movie and they like had a 5-minute thing about like what routes they were taking and why.
Yeah. I guess because the audience of Homer wouldn't all be soldiers. So like the women, children would have to like learn what they're doing. Like if he was just like, then they built a wall, like they wouldn't know what that looked like.
Got you. So it's almost instructive.
Yeah, just
in
like
that way?
Yeah, descriptive, I would almost say, like so that people can picture what the wall looked like if they've never been in war.
Gotcha.
So like us.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Now we know what the wall looks like.
So it's good that they did that.
Yeah. So he advised all the warlords sounded their assent, and now the Trojans, so switching over to Troy now, collected high on the crest of Troy. They were shaken, distracted men at Priam's gates, but the clear-headed Antenor opened up among them.
Hear me, Trojans, Dardans, all our loyal allies. I must speak out what the heart inside me urges. On with it. Give Argive Helen and all her treasures back to Atreus' sons to take away at last. We broke our sworn truce. We fight as outlaws. True. And what profit for us in the long run? Nothing, unless we do exactly as I say.
He's like, let's just give Helen back. Let's just give her back. Whatever. Like,
finally, someone who's sensible.
Seriously.
Don't worry, Paris is here to throw a wrench in things again.
Oh,
of course he is. A little twerp.
Yeah. This is like a meeting. So Antenor is like a council or whatever. So he's like, here's my advice. Give Helen back. And everyone's like, oh yeah, good idea. So he pressed the point, then took his seat. But among them stood magnificent Paris now, fair-haired Helen's lord. And he came back with a winging burst in anger.
Stop, Antenor. No more of your hot insistence. It repels me. You must have something better than this to say, but if you're serious, speaking from the heart, the gods themselves have blotted out your senses. Now I say this to our stallion-breaking Trojans, I say no! Straight out, I won't give up the woman. But those treasures I once hauled home from Argos, I'll return them all and add from my own stores.
So he won't give Helen back, but he will give back all of her money, which is a lot, and he'll even add some of his own money.
It's kind of sad how much he wants to hang on to her because she kind of talks about how much she hates him, like to his face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great.
But she's really pretty, man.
Yeah,
So
seriously. Like, that's literally it. It's so sad.
Poor Helen and Paris. He can just stop.
Yeah, I don't feel too bad for him.
No.
Yeah, he's made his decisions, and we don't like him.
No. But he will get back the money, and maybe that will be enough. We'll see. Again, we're only like a third in, so probably not, but we'll see. With that concession, the prince sat down again. Then Priam, king of Troy, son of Dardanus, rose among them, a man who could match the gods for strong advice, and with goodwill toward all, he swayed his people.
Hear me, Trojans, Dardans, all our loyal allies, I must speak out what the heart inside me urges. Now take your evening meal throughout the city, just as you always have, and stand your watches, each man wide awake. And then, at first light, let the herald Idaeus go to the beaked ships and tell the Atridae, Agamemnon, and Menelaus the offer of Paris, who caused our long, hard campaign. Let Idaeus add this too, a good sound proposal. See if they are willing to halt the brutal war until we can burn the bodies of our dead. We'll fight again tomorrow, until some fatal power decides between us both, handing victory down to our side or the other.
Yeah. So like I said, it's so easy to just pause this war to do housekeeping or whatever, like duels.
Yeah.
They've both
Seriously.
they've both come up with this brilliant idea to pause the war, get their dead off the battlefields, spend a day burning them, and then we'll start again tomorrow. Little do they know the Argives are going to take this day off to build a giant wall. But whatever, the Trojans already have a wall, so it's really fine.
True.
His people hung on his words and all obeyed the king. They took their meal by ranks throughout the army. At first light, Idaeus went to the beaked ships, and out on the meeting grounds he found the Argives, veterans close by the stern of Agamemnon's ship. Taking his stand right in the milling troops, the herald called out in a high, firm voice.
Son of Atreus, captain of all Achaeans, Priam and noble Trojans command me to report, if it proves acceptable, pleasing to one and all, the offer of Paris, who caused our long, hard campaign. I feel like our long, hard campaign's a euphemism for that he's a prick and no one likes him. Because it's come up twice so far. Sorry. Pleasing to one and all, the offer of Paris, who caused our long, hard campaign. All the treasures that filled his hollow ships, and the prince hauled home to Troy. Would to God he drowned before that day. He'll return them all and add from his own stores. But the lawful wife of Menelaus, renowned Menelaus, he will not give her up. Paris makes that clear, though all Troy commands him to do precisely that. He's like, we don't want to keep Paris, but or we don't want to keep Helen, but
what are we gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. They tell me to add this too, a good sound proposal. If you are willing, come, we'll halt the brutal war until we can burn the bodies of our dead. We'll fight again tomorrow until some fatal power decides between us both, handing victory down to one side or the other.
Right. This is also like a hot tip for older books. Usually would to God, when he said that, means wish. So it's kind of like, I wish to God that he drowned before the day that he took Helen.
Yeah.
He's
a good mediator. He's like, I don't like this guy. No one likes him.
Yeah, seriously.
It's probably not untrue, though.
I mean, yeah.
I probably actually really does hate Paris and think he's an idiot.
Yeah. I mean,
he doesn't.
Everyone wants to be fighting for 9 years straight. Like, everyone's super tired of it. And
I guess,
like, just give her back. Like, she's not even your wife. And he's like, no.
Why is everyone acquiescing to him? Because, I mean, even Priam doesn't like the whole situation?
He's a prince, I guess, and I don't know. It's a good question, like why they don't just strong harm him into it at this point.
Seriously.
I don't know. They might partially fear Aphrodite a little bit, but I think most of it's just like the honor. Like he's a prince. He says that's his wife. I guess that's what we got to do.
Mm.
I wouldn't do it, but whatever.
Yeah.
So he spoke, and a hushed silence went through all the ranks. Finally, Diomedes, lord of the war cry, shouted out. Go ahead.
No one touched the treasures of Paris. Helen, either. It's obvious. Any fool can see it. Now, at last, the neck of Troy's in the noose. Her doom is sealed.
Yeah, why would they be offering the deal if they weren't close to losing?
That makes me so mad.
All the Achaean soldiers roared out their assent, stirred by the stallion-breaking lord's reply, and King Agamemnon rounded on a dais.
There's the Achaeans' answer. A dais, a declaration. You can hear for yourself. It is my pleasure, too. But about the dead, I'd never grudge their burning. No holding back for the bodies of the fallen. Once they're gone, let fire soothe them quickly. That's my sworn pledge. Zeus, my witness now. Hera's lord, whose thunder drums the sky.
So with that oath, he raised his scepter high in the eyes of all the gods, and a dais turned, trailing back to sacred Troy. There they sat in assembly, Trojans, Dardans, all collected together, waiting long in tents for the herald to return. And Homedeus came, delivered his message standing in their midst, and they fell to making hurried preparations, dividing the labors quickly. 2 detachments, one to gather the bodies, one the timber. And far on the other side, the Achaean troops came streaming out of the well-benched ships, some to gather the bodies, some the timber. Just as the sun began to strike the plowlands, rising out of the deep, calm flow of the ocean river to climb the vaulting sky, the opposing armies met. And hard as it was to recognize each man, each body, with clear water they washed the clotted blood away and lifted them onto wagons, weeping warm tears. Priam forbade his people to wail aloud. In silence, they piled the corpses on the pyre, their hearts breaking, burned them down to ash, and returned to sacred Troy. And just so on the other side, Achaean men-at-arms piled the corpses on the pyre, their hearts breaking, burned them down to ash, and returned to their hollow ships. Then, with daybreak not quite risen into dawn, the day and night still deadlocked, round the pyre a work brigade of picked Achaeans grouped. They heaped a single great barrow over the corpse fire, one great communal grave stretched out across the plain, and fronting it, threw up looming ramparts quickly, a landward wall for ships and troops themselves, and amidst the wall built gateways fitted strong to open a clear path for driving chariots through. And against the fortress just outside the wall, the men dug an enormous trench, broad and deep, and drove sharp stakes to guard it. You may wonder why they're building a wall now, 9 years into the war. It's because until this moment, or until recently, they've been winning really close to Troy. And since Achilles hasn't been here to help, Troy has been getting closer and closer to their camp. So now they're like, shit, like we have to have a defensive maneuver, so they build a wall now. So they labored. The long-haired Achaeans, while the gods aloft, seated at ease beside the Lord of Lightning, Zeus, gazed down on the grand work of the Argives armed in bronze. Poseidon, who I don't think has even been mentioned yet, the god whose breakers shake the land, began.
Father Zeus, is there a man on the whole wide earth who still informs the gods of all his plans, his schemes? Don't you see? Look there. The long-haired Achaeans have flung that rampart up against their ships. Around it they have dug an enormous deep trench and never offered the gods 100 splendid bulls. But its fame will spread as far as the light of dawn. And men will forget those ramparts I and Apollo reared for Troy in the old days, for the hero Laomedon. We broke our backs with labor.
This is like a weird little passage. Poseidon is like, that wall is so cool, everyone's gonna forget the wall that I made.
Nobody even asked me for help anymore. I would have built a wall.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, my fame. What about my fame?
I do love the juxtaposition between like all the mourning and this real visceral pain that they've all felt, and how like trivial
Yeah.
like Poseidon, like the Poseidon
Yeah.
take is. Like,
Yeah, that's like definitely a theme throughout the whole thing, because like the men are dying and the gods like troubles are so trivial and stupid. They're just like, I like this one, I want him to win. Meh. Like it's just so not
They're just
connected.
like over here playing Call of Duty.
yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Oh.
Filled with anger, Zeus, who marshals the thunderheads, let loose now.
Unbelievable! God of the earthquake, you with your massive power, why are you moaning so? Another god might fear their wall, their idle whim, one far weaker than you in strength of hand and fury. Your own fame goes spreading far as the light of dawn. Come now, just wait till these long-haired Achaeans sail back in their ships to the fatherland they love, then batter their wall. Seep it into the salt breakers and pile over the endless beach your drifts of sand again. Level it to your heart's content, the Argives' mighty wall.
Yeah.
So he's like, destroy it?
He's like, wait until they're done, then you can destroy it. Who cares? The page about Poseidon being sad about his wall.
Oh, such a weird sideshow.
Yeah.
So they conferred together, building their resolve. The sun went down. The Argives' work was finished. They slew oxen beside the tents and took their meal, and the ships pulled in from Lemnos, bringing wine. A big convoy sent by Eunice, Jason's son.
Finally, the first normal name. we expect it to not be.
Yeah, basically. Whom Hypsipyle bore the seed Lord of armies. An outright gift to Atrides, Agamemnon, and Menelaus. Eunice gave a shipment of wine, 1,000 measures full. From the rest, the Achaean soldiers brought their rations, some with bronze and some with gleaming iron, some with hides, some with whole live cattle, some with slaves, and they made a handsome feast. Then all that night the long-haired Achaeans feasted, as Trojans and Trojan allies took their meal in Troy. Yes, but all night long the master strategist Zeus plotted fresh disaster for both opposing armies. His thunder striking terror and blanching panic swept across the ranks. They flung wine from their cups and wet the earth, and no fighter would dare drink until he poured an offering out to the overwhelming son of Cronus. Then down they lay at last and took the gift of sleep.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like Zeus is scheming, the wall is built, and Poseidon is salty.
Get it?
Yeah.
Lord of the Sea. Ah,
Oh, yeah.
In the next one, the tide of battle turns.
Get it? The
Ooh.
tide.
Uh-oh.
Poseidon
The
floor.
tide, maybe
Get it?
Poseidon.
Oh my gosh.
Ocean.
Oh shit.
I hope he beats up Paris and takes his lunch money.
Oh, that would be so chill.
That would be chill.
Would Achilles to beat up Paris?
Would to God.
Would to God
Would
beat
to
up
God.
Paris and take his lunch money?
Like,
Like,
Subscribe.
comment, subscribe.
subscribe.
Question of the week is
What
what's
should
your
Paris?
favorite Poseidon pun?
Good Poseidon puns down below.
Wow.
I'm not sure I'm prepared for that heat.
The saltier, the better.
Wow.